So, interesting reading today. Apparently, the Canadian government has announced that they want to poach H1B visas from the USA, right? And I find it kind of interesting because, isn't Canada like 40% immigrant already? Because they're taking so many immigrants, and uh, aren't the Canadians kind of tired of people being invited to their country with all the problems they're having with the trade war and companies leaving and jobs leaving? And then the government says they want to poach people from the US. Well, I mean, kind of interesting. But I gotta say, it will displace more actual Canadians, you know. And if you know, and the sad thing is a lot of people when they come to the U.S., they actually end up staying. They don't want to go to Canada because they a lot of people see the shit show Canada is. I mean, just the idea of pulling booze off the shelf because the Canadian government is offended. So you know, so I watched some Canadian channels from Canadians about what's going on, you know, and Alberta and all the other stuff like that. Good coffee. And I just wonder, you know, what Canada's going to do with all these H-1B visas, because the thing is, it's not going to be just professors and doctors. It's going to be all kinds of people. And we're trying to right now we're purging a bunch of migrants that came here illegally, like the Somalians and the money that they've stolen, and we have a bunch of people from India that are coming below, and we're purging people from India and Mexico, Latin America, all these places. You know what I mean? That the Biden administration let just walk in, truck drivers, all these different things, right? And it's going to open jobs for Americans. And initially there's going to be some problems, but with time people will start filling those jobs. But if Canada, your country, wants all of our H-1Bs to... Oh, a little lag there. Oops, a little lag there on there. If Canada wants our temporary workers, I say you can have them, because we're trying to get them out of the country anyway, and it's just we don't have to send them as far. We can just send them right across the Canadian border, versus putting them on flights. We can just put them on buses to Canada, right? And we can throw in a whole bunch of illegal migrants too, and then send them up to Quebec, because I know the French just love diversity, and I know we can find some Muslim immigrants to mix in there too, and then we could make more Muslim, Canada more Muslim. Dearborn's got a shit ton of Muslims that could go to Canada. They could build more mosques and help convert people. But so we could, as Americans, we can help Canada become more worldwide in a community with cultures, and Canada, y'all can say bad things about America, but we don't really give a shit. We don't really need your trade. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and we got plenty of sawmills that could pick up the loads for softwoods that we got screwed on years ago by Canada, helping their sawmills survive when the U.S. government forced our sawmills to shut, and we lost a substantial number of jobs. But Canada didn't give a shit. Neither did the U.S. government. So we can do the softwoods. We can do all that stuff. We have plenty of trees here. We don't really need Canadian lumber. And we'll just make more American jobs. And I don't see H-1B visas going for sawmill jobs, or railroad jobs, or electrician jobs. The welding jobs, the jobs that really matter in infrastructure. So Canada, you can have the majority of our H-1B visas. You can have them, in your great diversity goal. But this is why we're closing our borders to you, because you're not really Canadian anymore. You're a bunch of foreigners that became Canada, but you're not Canadian anymore. So we have to close our borders and say you have to have a visa to come across now because we don't know if you're from Pakistan or Afghanistan, you want to come here and do bombings and attack. We don't know anymore. Because, Canadians aren't like Americans anymore. You guys are some other group, but you're not really like Americans anymore. Maybe like Alberta and Saskatchewan and so, Western Canada, you're more like us, but Eastern Canada? No, I don't know what the hell we're looking at, but it's not Canadian, and the French are just the French, I mean, the French have always been really fucking touchy about everything, But, yeah, so please take most of our Indian H1B visas and once they get to Canada, just send them all up to Quebec because I know Quebec loves it when all those Indians are up there doing those tech jobs because those are the only jobs that are going to be left. Because you guys are losing all the rest of your jobs. You're not going to have shit for steel mills. Booze is shutting down. Sawmills are shutting down. Steel industry is going to be going. Yeah, Canada is kind of screwed, but you know what? Prices here haven't changed all that much. It's just people here are in fucking debt. That's why Americans can't buy shit because, it's like what $36,000 a year for college now, versus I think it was 8,000 in 2020 or something like that. I mean, there's like a huge price change. Don't quote me on it. I'm just like throwing some numbers out, but yeah, I mean, Canada, please take our H1B visas. We're not gonna be upset because we have lots of people who are trained in computers and programming who can't get hired because of the low wage H1B visas workers. So please take them. We won't stop you. Hell, the U.S. will probably charter buses to send them across the border to you, and you guys can just pick out which city you want them to go to. But once they come in Canada, they're your problem. Okay, do not send them back to America. We don't want them. We're already clearing shit out. We got a lot more people to get rid of. And these ones are for you. But if you happen to see like a hot Indian chick, just send her my way, will ya? Because, I never dated an Indian chick, but, you never know. But, so I'm going to end this video. And I'm going to call it a day. And you all have a good one.